Hi, it's Tim Otman, breathing coach, naturopath, and mycotherapist. Today I'm going to talk about the gut or the digestive system, and specifically about conditions such as IBS, gastric reflux, and other digestive complaints. Now, there's a lot of talk about the gut recently. You only need to go to Facebook or read health magazines to hear a lot of talk about gut microbiome and how important it is to have the right gut bacteria or the right gut microbiome, and how strongly the gut influences our brain health via the fact that there are neurotransmitters in the gut as well as the brain. So it's certainly very topical when we're looking at health, and so it should be. It plays a huge role. However, most of the treatment on the gut is centered around what goes in our mouth or what goes into our gut internally. And that's great, or how we can affect the gut microbiome and how what we eat, how detox and certain changes to our diet or certain elimination programs, etc., can affect our gut microbiome. Yet a lot of these treatment strategies, and you can go off for stool samples, you can take all sorts of antimicrobials, antibiotics, you can repopulate your gut, you can do all sorts of treatments, and they're great. However, there are other influences on the gut. Firstly, or secondly, apart from what goes on inside the gut, secondly, what's going on around outside the gut. So your gut is a big tube surrounded by smooth muscle, and the gut works via peristalsis, so the smooth muscle squeezes and the gut flows, and we want to have the gut keeping moving. Now, your breathing dramatically affects your gut, the outside of your gut. If you breathe dysfunctionally, so you breathe too often and with far too much volume, which is most of us. Most of us breathe twice as often as we should, and often with far too much volume. That upsets the delicate biochemical balance in your respiratory system that dictates how we get oxygen into cells. And as a way of dealing with overbreathing or inefficient functioning, the gut will cause constriction and spasm in smooth muscles that surrounds your breathing tubes to narrow the diameter of your airways so you don't lose so much air. However, it's not just specific to the respiratory system. Smooth muscle, as I said, surrounds your gut, and if you breathe too often, then a gut can go into lockdown. And 99% of cases of gut conditions like IBS or reflux are either have associated anxiety or are worse for stress. So as well as treating the inside of the gut, you need to treat what's going on the outside of the gut, because so often when symptoms are worse for stress or a person has associated anxiety with their IBS, then you must treat what's going on with their breathing. When you are anxious or you're stressed, you breathe more rapidly, and that puts your gut into lockdown. The third thing, which works at a higher level in the brain in the hypothalamus, is that the area that regulates digestive function is in the hypothalamus. So it regulates what's going on, what acids are secreted, what enzymes are secreted, etc. And when we live in a world which basically creates a mismatch between the way we evolved to live, between the bodies we've inherited from our hunter-gatherer ancestors and the culture we've created, and it puts us in permanent low-level fight or flight functioning, which then sends your hypothalamus into low-level overdrive. Now, there are techniques that we can use that work on lifestyle balance. They work on a number of factors to take your hypothalamus out of overdrive. Unfortunately, there are no medicines that can do this. It's a situation we have to work specifically on particular behavioral habits that can get your hypothalamus out of overdrive, create more balance, and therefore have your gut function at a much more efficient level without being so in overdrive. And so by treating on all three of these levels, so rather than just focusing on what's going on inside the gut, if we treat with what's going on inside the gut, as well as what's going on outside the gut lining, with it being in lockdown via the breathing, plus we treat at a higher level in the brain via the hypothalamus, then we're far more likely to get a much more comprehensive result with chronic gut conditions, which is what I generally see in the clinic by treating all three levels. So I see a lot of people who've done very, very, very thorough gut protocols, which are great, and they do get some results with that. Or they're on a FODMAP diet and it gives them some results, but never complete results. Then we bring in the other treatments and we generally see a much bigger shift, or often a very complete shift in these clients. So it's worth looking at other aspects rather than just what's going on inside the gut. Thanks.